Okay, it looks like it's just about time to get started. Welcome to our webinar. This is our webinar on the Sustainable Twin Ports Early Adopter Project. It is the second webinar in our Businesses Preventing Pollution series. Our next webinar in this series will be August 21st, and that is entitled Fats, Oils, and Grease Management for the Food Service Industry. All webinars begin at 9:30 a.m. And you can go to www.ci.superior.wi.us/business to register, or if you just go to the city website and search for webinars, you'll get to it eventually that way too. So today we have a presenter to talk to us about the Sustainable Twin Ports Early Adopter Project. It's Jerry Hembd, a professor at UW-Superior and board member of Sustainable Twin Ports. So I will pass the presenter role over to him now, and he will tell us more about the Early Adopters Project.
Okay, thanks, Jillian. I want to welcome you this morning. I'm going to take about the next 30 minutes to talk about the Early Adopter Project provided by a local organization called Sustainable Twin Ports. And the Early Adopter Project is really focused on the idea of strategic sustainability training and planning. And this is a project available to businesses, local governments, nonprofit organizations in the greater Twin Ports area. As Jillian noted, my name is Jerry Hembd, and I'm a board member of Sustainable Twin Ports. I've been a board member since the beginning. I'm past president. My day job, so to speak, I teach economics at UW-Superior. I also am the director for our newer online sustainable management program, which offers a BS and MS degrees. And I also work for UW Extension as a specialist in community and economic development. Just as a quick overview, I'm going to touch on these things all fairly quickly, and I encourage you, if you want more information, you can see the address of our website at the bottom of the screen. That's one place to go for more information. I'll provide you with my email address and phone number at the end. Feel free to contact me as well. I do want to give you a taste for the project and the kind of sustainability framework that we use. So as I noted, we being Sustainable Twin Ports, provide sustainability training, which helps you plan and implement at an organizational level. We use the natural step, which is a sustainability framework that originated in Sweden in the late 1980s, and I'll be saying a bit more about that. The project or the training program is an 8-month process with periodic training sessions and coaching sessions through that. And the intent is that each participating organization would do an assessment, develop a strategic action plan, and start implementing that plan and then share back with other organizations in the Twin Ports area. We are currently in the 5th year of our Early Adopter Project. We're working with our 5th cohort of early adopter participating organizations. We have 4 organizations this year. University of Wisconsin-Superior has opted to send through a 2nd team. Canal Park Brewing is a member. Lake Superior College is a participant. And then the Fond du Lac Reservation is a participant, and they participated in the past on behalf of the school system. This time it's in terms of their operations, which also includes their casino. Note on Sustainable Twin Ports, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We were established in 2007, so we're relatively young. And you can see our mission statement there. It's to further environmental, economic, and social sustainability in the Twin Ports and Western Lake Superior region through education, networking, and action. And our Early Adopter Project is really our flagship effort in this area. So you might wonder, so what's all this about early adopters? This is one definition of early adopters, and it's the one we use. And think of it as an early adopter of sustainability and sustainability practices, be it within a private business, an organization, or a local government. And so we think of early adopters as respected and representative community businesses and organizations that make the commitment to provide leadership by introducing and using the natural step framework in their respective organizations. The idea of early adopter comes from a model that goes back to the 1960s called the innovation diffusion model. And it looks at an understanding of how new technologies or technological change get introduced and spread throughout either an economy, a society, or perhaps globally. And the notion is that you've got a real small portion of people that are innovators creating these new technologies and inventions, but they don't really go anywhere unless someone decides to use them. And so we're thinking of the innovation in this case as sustainability. And one way to think about sustainability is to be using what's referred to as a triple bottom line in decision making. The single bottom line is often viewed as the current approach, and that would be profit as the bottom line or economic concerns as the bottom line. The triple bottom line says not only do we need to think about the economy, but we also need to think about the environment or ecological concerns, and we also need to think about social concerns or the welfare of our community. And what much research has been showing over the last 10 years is that businesses or local governments or organizations that use a triple bottom line approach that consider economic, ecological, and social or equity concerns in the decision making, it's as good for that profit bottom line or say cost-saving bottom line for a local government or nonprofit organization as sort of the former profit orientation. So it's good for a business, good for an operation. So the innovation is using a sustainability approach to how you run your business or organization. And so the early adopters in this case, that segment of society, are the ones that say, all right, we're willing to give this a shot. We're going to give it a try. And if successful, then other people in the community, in this case the Twin Ports, see that. They see how it's worked. They can talk to early adopters, find out what worked and what didn't work, and then more people adopt this approach, and that moves on to the early majority, late majority, etc. So it's a way to diffuse a new approach, a new technology, and we're applying this in the Twin Ports area. We modeled this after a comparable project that was done in Canada, Canmore, Alberta, also using the natural step framework, and a smaller, somewhat similar project that was done in the Chequamegon Bay area, just to the east of here, that was oriented primarily around energy concerns, and they called that the Green Team Network. So the benefits of this program, first, each participating organization can have up to 5 people participate in this very intensive training and action planning program. And we provide the training throughout this program. And we typically say that we want no less than 2 and up to 5 people participating from each organization. We will help organizations think through who would be the best people to participate from their organization. The next benefit, as I mentioned, the triple bottom line, is that use of this approach provides or helps you identify many opportunities to save money, to be more efficient, more effective, no matter what kind of activity you're involved in. During the training and afterwards, you would get support from our organization and other resources, and we do provide coaching in between the training sessions to help each organization as it works on its sustainability, the strategic sustainability action plan, and then starts to implement that plan. And as I noted, we're in our 5th year now. As once you sort of graduate, for lack of a better term, you become part of a larger peer learning network of other organizations that have participated in this training program in Twin Ports. Plus, you connect to similar organizations around the country, and there's also an international network of people working with the Natural Step Sustainability Framework. The commitment on the side of an organization, first, we do expect that the organization is interested in learning about and applying this particular framework. The next one is a big commitment, and it's the time for staff to participate in the program. The total time adds up to about 10 days. That includes both training and coaching sessions over an 8-month period. And admittedly, this is the one that one of the ones that many organizations gulp about. But it is a commitment, and we emphasize that we would like the same staff that start the program to complete the program. Each session and activity builds on the other, and so there's many advantages in making sure it's the same 2 to 5 people participating from beginning to end. The third is that if you participate, you are committing to produce and implement some type of a sustainability action plan. Some organizations add this to their current either business plan or strategic plan. Some people may go through a new planning process and make sustainability a key element of that. That's where it tends to be very specific to the participating organization. You commit to working with other organizations during this training program. All the organizations train together. What we've found over the years, and I'm sure many of you see this in other things you do, is that a lot of the teaching and learning comes from sort of your peers and from other organizations that participate in the training program. Often there's already many kinds of sustainability activities going on, or new ideas or new technologies being applied in organizations that really aren't well known outside of that organization. And in some cases, we're seeing that this year, are not even that well known within the organization. And I can speak to from UW Superior. There's quite a few things that have been happening on campus and moving towards sustainability that most people on campus were not particularly aware of. And so one of the things that UW Superior is doing as part of their planning is getting more of that information out to the rest of the organization. And that's not an unusual approach across other organizations. And the final piece is there is a program fee of $3,500. That includes all the training expenses for all of the participants and involvement in the alumni network. Afterward, this is yet another one that may cause organizations to gulp a bit. But as we point out, many organizations commit far more than this to other types of training if you start factoring in travel and things of that sort, whereas all of our training occurs locally. And in some cases, there are ways to negotiate a reduced fee if the organizations can provide some service, perhaps a place for the training sessions to take place, help subsidize food, and so there's a number of ways to go at that. I just want to say a few things about the natural step, because that is the framework that we use. I mentioned earlier that this originated in Sweden in the late 1980s. The main leader on this was an oncologist, Dr. Karl Robert, and he was motivated primarily by sort of seeing the increasing incidence of cancer in people across Sweden and wondering if there weren't some systemic causes that had either social, economic, or environmental origins. And so they did a fairly intensive scientific research on this, and they came up with a framework, a sustainability framework that identified, turns out, 4 key systemic things that are causing unsustainability or moving us away from sustainability, and then oriented training programs around that to help move organizations back more closely to sustainability. As you can see from this slide, this is an international organization that operates in, I think, currently about 13 or 14 countries. And our own efforts here in the Twin Ports, we've had pretty close relationships with the U.S. Natural Step organization, as well as Canada, and to some extent Sweden. I just want to note 3 key distinct characteristics of the Natural Step framework, things that I think are very important. The one is that it's a science and systems-based definition for sustainability. So this is firmly rooted in science. It's not a feel-good sort of framework. It's one with a lot of scientific background on it, and as an educator, for me, that is very important. I also use systems thinking as an anchor. It provides a decision-making framework and process, and that's the strategic planning process. So it's not a prescriptive framework. It doesn't tell you what to do as an organization. It provides a process and a framework for you to decide what kinds of actions you think best fit your organization as you move toward greater sustainability. And with that, once you come up with your strategic sustainability plan, that provides a sort of compass as you make your day-to-day decisions and helping if you're moving in the right direction. Who uses it? It's used widely around the world. You probably see a few icons that you recognize. Since it's originated in Sweden, the IKEA one is probably no surprise. You can see some other McDonald's, Starbucks that have been using this in some aspects of their operations. In the 90s and then over the last decade, a lot of local governments got interested in using this, and so you can see some local governments listed there as well. In Wisconsin, this is an interesting sort of sidebar. On this map, just focus on the red dots. And those are all local governments that are referred to as eco-municipalities, and they have adopted the natural step framework as a decision-making and planning framework to help guide their sustainability decisions. Each of these uses it to a different extent, and Washburn, to the east of us, was the first community in the United States to adopt such an eco-municipality resolution. Douglas County has also adopted a resolution of this sort, and there's been a lot of activity in the Chequamegon Bay. So there's more eco-municipalities in Wisconsin than any other state in the country, and so there's quite the hotbed of interest in sustainability in this particular framework in Wisconsin. Who uses it locally? Again, I'm just going to show some of the logos or icons for some of the organizations that have participated in the Twin Ports over the last 4 years. You can see that it's a mix of private businesses, local governments, and nonprofit organizations. We've had, I think it's close to 30 organizations that have participated. You might note that both of the school districts, Duluth and Superior, have participated, and that's been a great way to help introduce that not just into operations of the school districts, but they've been looking at curriculum matters as well. The same thing is true with the school at Fond du Lac Reservation, UW Superior, and so widely used across the Twin Ports. So I'm just going to show a couple of schematics, give you a little bit of flavor for the background of the natural step framework. This is just just a taste. We go into a lot of this in detail in the training itself, but it helps give you a sense of how the natural step approaches this. One visual and way of understanding it they use is the resource funnel. This identifies two key trend lines. One is this blue line that says we have an increasing demand for resources, not just nationally but globally. This is due to population growth. We consume a lot more, and new technologies tend to help us consume even greater and greater amounts of things. And we have another trend that is reflected by these changes. As the bottom trend line is going up, this means that we are using more and more raw materials, so their availability decline. We sort of undermine, in some ways, the capacity of our natural systems to operate. And so these two trend lines are moving toward each other. And so one way of thinking of this is that we have a sort of a limited margin for action to attempt to straighten these two trend lines out. And that's one way of thinking of sustainability. And perhaps over the long term, even starting to move them out in the other direction. Another way that the natural step thinks of this, and I'm going to run through this very quickly, but I like this. It's just a good way to think about it. And this gives you a flavor of the systems thinking model. It looks at broad biological and geochemical cycles. The biological cycles can be simplified to the relationship between plants and animals. And plants take in the carbon dioxide that animals give off. They use sunshine energy, and they produce food and oxygen that are then used by the animals. The animals give off carbon dioxide and waste materials, which are then used by the plants, and they've got this wonderful circle that I've been told is sort of the cycle of life that's also featured in the movie The Lion King. The Earth, or the biosphere, is an open system with respect to energy. So this means that we have in and waste heat going out. But it's a closed system with respect to matter. This means that nothing disappears. We don't gain matter, we don't lose matter, but it does change form over time. One good example of this is fossil fuels. As we burn fossil fuels, they turn into gas. Matter doesn't go away, it just changes form. The other thing about matter, and both of these relate back to the first and second laws of thermodynamics, is that everything breaks down and tends to disperse through the environment. If I parked a car out in front of my house and left it sit there for centuries, it would ultimately break down, turn into rust, and that would dissipate through the environment. So again, it doesn't go away, it breaks down and dissipates. This would sound like sort of a one-way train, but the beauty of the fact that the Earth is an open system with respect to energy allows photosynthesis through plants. Plants use this energy to process waste and keep this broad biological cycle going. The other long-term cycle is geological cycles, and this is the slow eruption and weathering of minerals out of mountains, streams, etc., and taking it back and then sedimenting, remineralizing in the earth. So these are long-term, eon-long cycles. So then when we think about if we introduce humans into the picture, we can define sustainability as the ability of our society to continue indefinitely within these natural cycles. And so what the natural step has done is identified 4 ways that we humans influence the natural cycles. And I'm just going to outline those quickly because these are the principles of the natural step framework. So I've introduced humans into our simplified model of the Earth. One of the things we do is that we take materials from the Earth's crust out at a much faster rate than is the case with those broad geological cycles. What happens is then we reintroduce used minerals back into the environment at rates much faster than they can be assimilated or broken down, and they tend to bioaccumulate. Climate change, perhaps, is sort of a poster child example of some of the aspects of this trend. The second thing is we have gotten very good at creating human-made compounds that are not, that don't normally exist in nature, and dispersing those into the environment at rates much faster than they can be broken down. And many of these, we don't have a good notion of their toxicity, and they also bioaccumulate. In some ways, this goes back to what Dr. Robert was looking for when he was trying to identify some of the causes of the increased incidence of cancer. The third thing that humans do is they tend to degrade the environment, the physical environment, in a variety of ways. This could be building roads, disrupting habitats. I mean, you can just look outside and think of all the different ways that we influence an environment, many of which impede the ability of natural ecosystems to function. So those are sort of 3 scientific or science-based areas where we impact the operation of the ecosystem. The fourth is a societal one, and we tend to put barriers in place to prevent people from meeting their basic needs. And if a family or a household is unable to meet its basic needs, sustainability is not going to be too high on its list of priorities. Many people in the natural step have been using the framework developed by an economist in Chile that's identified 9 fundamental human needs that it views as universal across all societies. Sort of how they're satisfied are defined culturally, and sort of maintaining the point that unless all these human needs are met, that's a form of poverty. So looking at ways that communities can ensure that all these needs are met at the community level and beyond. So with that in mind, the 4 sustainability principles of the natural step, and we'll have to sort of bear with the language. In a sustainable society, nature is not subject to systematically increasing. And the first is that concentrations, taking things out of the Earth's crust, so taking them out at faster and faster rates that can't be assimilated back into the biosphere. The second is increasing the concentrations of those human-made substances that are accumulating in society and bioaccumulating. The third is degradation of the environment by physical means. And the fourth is putting barriers in place that may prevent people from the ability or capacity to meet their needs. And so those are the 4 sustainability principles, and a lot of the training goes into in considerable depth and helps organizations understand how they can then do an analysis of their own organization to see where they might make some changes. And that leads into the planning methodology, and again I'm providing you just a real quick glimpse of this. It's called the ABCD planning methodology, looking from present into the future. The A step is the awareness, and that's understanding in this case, the natural step framework. The B step is doing a baseline analysis of your own organization and using those 4 sustainability principles as the key element of that evaluation. The C step gets at looking at a vision of where you would like your organization, your business to be in the future, again using those 4 sustainability principles and coming up with a bunch of creative solutions on how you might get there and using what's referred to as backcasting. You have your vision, then you backcast to the present and decide, and this is the D step, getting down to action, what steps you want to take that move you toward your vision. And the questions you would ask in each case is, does this step move me in the right direction? Is it a step that I can build from to take additional steps? And is it a good return on investment? And again, part of the training includes a considerable depth in the whole planning methodology. So to sort of recap the basics, each year we do a training for usually 3 or more early adopter organizations. We do a call for training in the latter part of the year, and this is always posted on our website. Each participating organization has 2 to 5 people participating. It includes 10 days of training and coaching. Organizations do those baseline evaluations that I just mentioned. They develop a vision of a sustainable business or organization. They get down to action planning and implementation. They document what they've done. They have peer learning, and we always have a community showcase in October where the work of that year is shared with the broader community. And if anyone is interested in seeing, again, what perhaps is happening with this year's cohort, I would go to our website and watch for more details on our community showcase this year. It's currently scheduled for October 3rd. And that would be a great way to learn more about the program. Key strengths of this early adopter project, things that we like about it. One is that with all these local organizations participating, they become role models and success stories that others in the community can look at. One of our early participants was the Duluth Grill, and they have made considerable changes over the last 4 or 5 years, and have inspired many actions by other restaurants and businesses, not just locally but elsewhere. And the other is we now have all of these organizations that have a shared understanding of sustainability and a language, in this case the natural step framework, that they can use to help understand and plan for sustainability within their organizations. When we recruit organizations, we're looking for business and organizations that are recognized as some type of community leader, perhaps just in their area or sector. And you saw who has participated in the past. They have some kind of interest in sustainability. You don't need a track record to participate. And we'd like each year to have a group of organizations that represent sort of the breadth of the Twin Ports community. How can you get involved? You can certainly join our organization by participating in one of our committees or our activities. And again, I would refer you to our website. You might want to see if your organization is interested in becoming an early adopter participant. You might invite someone from our organization to speak about the natural step or this project. We have many people that would be glad to do that. You could share information with others. You might even give them the link to this particular webinar. And we're already beginning to start recruiting for our 2014 training cohort. This last thing that I want to mention is now that we're finishing our 5th year, we're moving to sort of broaden our approach. And our next project that we're going to probably piggyback onto the early adopter project is what we're referring to as the metrics project. Most organizations are very interested in measuring progress, in this case progress in sustainability and all the aspects of it. So we have been working over the last year and a half to develop some sort of a tool to help organizations do this. And we will be working with next year's cohort, as well as past participants that are interested to beta test this tool. And this list gives you a sense of the kinds of indicators that we're looking at. And it's less a project to organization to another, and more a project to help any organization establish where it's at now, sort of a baseline, and then sort of map its progress over time. And then this could also reflect that particular organization's strategic sustainability plan and implementation. So that's a pretty quick overview of the Early Adopter Project. As I said, if you want more information, go to our website. Feel free to contact me by email or by phone. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jillian in case anybody has some questions they would like to share.
Okay, thank you for that, Jerry. We actually didn't have any questions, so I guess we can end the webinar. So if you have any questions for me, you can email me at edwardsj@ci.superior.wi.us or give us a call at 715-394-0392. And for more information about the business webinar series, you can visit ci.superior.wi.us/business. So thank you for attending.